let's kick things off with a little nostalgia. Welcome to today's explainer. You know, if you actually stop and listen, like really listen to the words of the nursery rhymes we all grew up with, you've probably had a moment where you just paused and thought, wait, what on earth is actually happening here? Well, today we're diving headfirst into the delightfully absurd, utterly fascinating logic of our favorite childhood rhymes. We're going to break down source material that paints a picture so vivid and honestly so wonderfully chaotic, it literally demands a closer look. So get ready to embrace the whimsy because we're about to see how pure nonsense actually builds some of the most rock-solid memories of our entire lives.
Come here, come here, come here. If you know it, you can probably already hear the rhythm in your head, right? It's that urgent, repetitive call for backup. It instantly triggers nostalgia. But in the story we're unpacking today, this isn't just a friendly little wave hello. No, it is a literal distress signal. Every single time a new disaster strikes, this exact phrase gets deployed to rope yet another unsuspecting participant into the escalating chaos. It's the engine driving our first story completely off the rails.
So here is our whimsical breakdown for today. We'll start with the magic of rhymes, then look at the elephant rescue chain. After that, saved by the monkey, followed by the peanut paradox, and we'll wrap up with why this whimsy actually matters.
All right, part one, the magic of rhymes and how they capture attention through sheer absurdity.
Seriously, how do these simple little poems hook a kid's mind so completely? Well, they do it by completely ignoring the laws of physics and common sense, for that matter. They replace all of that with pure, dreamlike logic and escalating physical comedy. I mean, just look at the sheer variety of disasters packed into a few short stanzas. First, we've got a scared elephant out in the rain. Then, a super narrow path. Suddenly, out of nowhere, we are dealing with a tiny bicycle. Next up is a completely crushed vegetable cart. And finally, the grand finale, a monkey's net. We are jumping from environmental hazards to traffic jams straight into slapstick vehicular destruction, and then a jungle trap. It's an absolutely wild array of situations. You literally can't help but wonder how it's all going to end. Moving right along to part two, the elephant rescue chain and its escalating disasters. Okay, it is time we treat the plight of these elephants with the serious investigative energy it truly deserves. Because what we're looking at here is a compounding chain of events, where every single attempt to fix the problem just makes it so much worse. Let's walk through the evidence. Step one, our first hefty elephant goes for a stroll in the rain, spots a storm cloud, gets trapped, and is absolutely terrified, so he calls for help. Come here, come here, come here, right? Step two, elephant number two arrives on the scene. But now we've got two massive elephants wedged on an incredibly narrow path. They're stuck. So what do? They call for backup. Step three, the third elephant shows up and in a stroke of absolute comedic genius, decides the best course of action is to try and ride a tiny bicycle. Obviously, he doesn't fit and it's a total disaster. Step four, elephant number four is called in, decides to take a breather on a vegetable cart, completely shatters it, and takes a massive tumble. I mean, every single call for help just leads to a heavier, more chaotic disaster.
Which brings us to the magic number 5, the absolute climax of our rescue chain. After the whole vegetable cart incident, these 4 battered, stuck pachyderms call for just one last friend. 5 fat elephants, all stuck, all panicking, bringing us to the final, chaotic peak of the story.
Let's look at part 3, Saved by the Monkey, the ultimate plot twist.
Now, this is where the tone takes a massive swerve, giving us a wildly unexpected resolution. It brilliantly shows off the real magic of the nursery rhyme format. Look at this contrast. The trap, all 5 of these massive elephants blunder right into a monkey's net and get hopelessly stuck. Honestly, it should be terrifying. But then look at the triumph. The monkey sees these 5 giant creatures trapped in his net, and instead of freaking out, he just starts laughing. He takes the net down, frees them, and suddenly, all 5 elephants are joyously dancing and swaying together. The flowing cadence of the poem right here completely shifts into this beautiful repetitive celebration. The danger just instantly dissolves into a massive dance party.
All right, part 4, the peanut paradox, a surreal pivot. If the elephant story was a masterclass in outdoor physical comedy, this second rhyme takes us indoors for a crash course in pure, unadulterated surrealism. Let's check out the structure. It paints this really cozy, totally relatable picture. A ceiling fan is spinning, a child is sleeping underneath. In verse 1, it's a boy named Ajay sleeping. He wakes up hungry, goes to get peanuts. In verse 2, we swap the characters. Money is sleeping, she gets hungry, and Vijay brings the peanuts. What's so wonderful here is the modular, adaptable nature of these folk rhymes. You can swap in any kid's name. It's basically a customizable template for storytelling. But this cozy setup is exactly where the normalcy comes to a screeching halt. Because completely out of nowhere, we get hit with this delightfully bizarre line, "The peanut has no seed, we are not your uncle." I just want you to process the leaps in logic happening right now. You crack open a peanut shell, it happens to be empty, and the direct consequence of this empty snack is the immediate, absolute disownment of your family ties. There's no peanut in here, therefore I am no longer your uncle. It's just a spectacular deadpan non sequitur. Let's map out this bizarre timeline just to fully appreciate the flow of events here. Hour 1, hunger strikes while napping under the fan. Hour 2, the tragic discovery of the empty peanut shell, which instantly triggers the not your uncle declaration. Hour 3, the now disowned uncle apparently packs up and travels all the way to the city of Kota. Hour 4, the uncle returns, but not with better peanuts. No, he comes back with a parrot, and the parrot eats its own food and sings a song for the uncle. It's delivered with such absolute, straight-faced seriousness, which honestly just makes the whole absurdity so much funnier. So the crucial point here is understanding exactly why this works. What we have here is the textbook definition of dream logic. That's a narrative sequence where events follow one another based on whimsical associations, rather than, actual cause and effect. The parrot eating food and singing for the uncle doesn't actually solve the sleeping child's hunger from the very beginning of the rhyme. It makes zero logical sense, but it makes total emotional and rhythmic sense, and that is exactly what makes the rhyme so sticky and unforgettable. And finally, part 5, why this whimsy matters, memory and joy. We've had our laughs at the elephants on bicycles and uncles buying parrots, but let's connect the dots and look at the practical application of all this structured nonsense. Let's summarize. In Act 1, with the elephants, the narrative style was physical comedy and escalation. The core benefit for a developing brain? It's an absolutely brilliant way to teach counting from 1 to 5, and it introduces the concept of compounding consequences, that actions have reactions. In Act 2, with the peanuts, the style was surrealism and modularity. The core benefit here is that it actively encourages imaginative leaps. By allowing character substitutions, it teaches kids that a story is a flexible thing they can play around with. So these aren't just silly songs, they are literal masterclasses in memory retention for young minds. Which brings us to the core takeaway for this explainer. Engaging a learner with structured absurdity actually shapes lifelong memory retention. The absurdity isn't a bug, it is the core feature. The reason you can remember these specific lyrics decades later isn't because they were perfectly logical. It's because the giant elephant on a tiny bicycle or the uncle fleeing Dakota over a hollow peanut created such a uniquely compelling, vivid image in your brain that it permanently locked itself in there. So I'm going to leave you with this final thought to chew on today. Look back at the media you consumed when you were little. What other absurd childhood stories are still mysteriously shaping your memory today? What rhymes, songs, or tales have stuck with you purely because they dared to be utterly, wonderfully ridiculous? Take a moment today to explore your own early memory landscapes. Thanks so much for joining me on this whimsical deep dive, and remember to keep questioning the logic of the stories around you.